What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back. Thank you very much for clicking on the video and tuning in. And today, I want to talk about the timeless question that I'm sure every single person watching this video has, thought about or has been asked or has heard someone answer this question before. Does money, or can money, I should say it that way, can money buy happiness? Right? And I feel like the answer that people usually give is a very literal answer, where it's simply like, no, money cannot buy happiness. Right? And I get that. Like, you can't walk into a store and be like, here's $10,000. Can I have some happiness, please? Like, that's just not how things work. Right? But for me, right, because I got to speak from my perspective, money does not directly buy happiness. But money allows you to live a life with much more freedom and a lot less stress, right? And let me take you into my thought process here, right? As someone that reports to an office Monday through Friday and sometimes on Saturday for the sole purpose of earning money, if you told me that I didn't have to go to work tomorrow, or I didn't have to go to work for the rest of the month, right? Or the next 6 months. And I can get whatever I want from the grocery store. I can make, nice meals for myself. I can buy a house, all that stuff. That would make me feel very happy, right? Like, I think obviously money is not, like, the end goal of life is to not just have, like, all the money, right? The end goal, for me at least, is to be able to, like, do what I want to do when I want to do it with the people I want to do it with. I want to be able to do things for the people I love, my mom, my sisters, my dad. Like, I want to be able to do a ton of things and be able to, be that person in my family, right? So being able to be that person and having, a ton of money would be great, because I'd be able to, fulfill that role, right? I think the main thing, though, is that, Notorious B.I.G. has said before, more money, more problems. That can be a very true statement, where if you don't know how to properly manage your money, or you're the type of person where you see, so-and-so amount in your account and you got to spend it all the way to zero, like, that's not a good way to manage money, right? But I feel like I've, lived long enough and understood, going through, bad financial times and good financial times. Like, I think I would understand if you gave me, hundreds of millions of dollars right now. I think I'd understand how to use it, and also how to not get, terribly messed up mentally from having it, right? And you have to be a strong person to have, a ton of money, right? Because it's going to attract things, people, events that you don't want to, have any sort of part of, right? And it can make your current relationships different, right? So that's also something to think about. But at the end of the day, what I aspire to have in life, again, in part of what in addition to what I just said, about being able to provide for my family and, give them the things that they want and need. I also just want to have freedom, right? I can't tell you how many times I've woken up and been like, I do not want to go to work today, right? And that's a common thing. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have it way worse than I do, right? I am in a very fortunate position to be able to, have the job that I have and, be able to, support myself. It's no, complaining for me, right? But I think anyone in this world would love to be able to just wake up every day and decide what they're going to do that day, as opposed to being like, I got to go report here and, do paperwork or do Excel spreadsheets or clean toilets. Like, there's so many jobs that people have to work simply because they got to make ends meet. And money, resolves a lot of that, right? It doesn't, you don't depend on someone, right? And I think this term of being like independent, right? Like, you graduate high school, you graduate college, yada, yada, whatever, you get a job, you eventually move out of your parents' house, you're, quote unquote independent. But like, in all reality, are you really independent when you're depending on your boss to give you your paycheck every week or 2 weeks or on whatever basis you get paid? Like, you're really not fully independent unless you're the one making the money and you're the one like running the business and making ends meet, right? Like, if you depend on someone else to tell you if you have a job or not, sure, you're independent to an extent, but you're not really fully independent, right? So that's something that I've always thought about, where I'm like, if I had money where I can make my own investments, I can put money in places where the money will work for me, make passive income with the money that I have. That's really the way to have freedom, right? Is having your money work for you, right? So if you guys aren't into, finding ways to make passive income, investing, all that stuff, I really encourage you to, do some research. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, so I would suggest just look it up. Look up, Fidelity or Schwab or any of these brokerage sites where you can, buy stocks. There's certain stocks that pay dividends, so you can earn income for just holding, shares of a company. That's something that can really be lucrative if you build up enough shares over time. So there's a lot of different things, man. But all in all, money in and of itself will not buy you happiness. But if you can figure out how to use money as a tool to successfully make yourself a free individual and not have to worry about, depending on other people, and you can live your life the way you want, then money is a roadway to happiness in a sense, right? But again, you can't let money change you and make you feel like, you just need more money to impress people or this, that, whatever. At the end of the day, man, like, who gives a about impressing people with money, right? Like, I've been around long enough, and I'm not that old, but I've been around long enough to understand that, like, at the end of the day, if you're a billionaire, you ain't gotta tell people. And I would suggest you probably don't tell people. Because at the end of the day, that just brings you more problems. Just brings more people being like, oh, he has money to give me, or he can fund my business, do this, that, whatever, right? It's just, you got to be smart with money. And I hope every single one of you watching is fortunate enough one day to have more money than you can ever dream of. And when that does come for you guys, just understand how to manage it, how to use it wisely, and how to make it last. Because I'll tell you that, like, the worst thing is coming into some money and then immediately being, back broke and not having a dollar to, spare to do what you want again, right? It's hard to go live that lifestyle and then come back down to earth where, you can't really live it anymore because you spent your money in the wrong way. So that's all I got, guys. I want to know what you think, though. Do you think money can buy happiness? Leave some comments down below. As always, I love you all. I believe in you all. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Stay up, stay blessed, stay safe, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.